If you're about to call the tax office and ask for a payment plan, then this video is for you. I'd like to share a few tips with you which hopefully will help you make this a successful process. Okay, I'm going to divide this into three parts. The first part is what the tax office is expecting from you when they negotiate a payment plan. Okay, the second part is how the tax office perceives you, which is also important when you're negotiating with them. You need to know that. And the third part is what to do when you're working out what your payment plan should be, like what the critical factors are. So let me go through the first part, how the payment plan works. The tax office wants to get as much money from you as they can, as quickly as they can, to pay off this debt. That's how they look at it. Ideally, less than 2 years, ideally less than 1 year. If they could get it in a month, they'd try to get it in a month. And so that's how they're looking at it. When they enter into a payment plan, the other thing they're expecting you to do, which is important to know, is to lodge all of your taxes going forward on time and pay them in full on time. If you're spending all your money on these old tax bills with a very tight payment plan, you got to make sure there's enough money left over to pay your new taxes, because if you don't, you're going to default on the plan, and the tax office will put a mark against your name for that. And when they put a mark against your name, it's harder to get payment plans in the future, and if you do, they make them much more strict. In summary, the two things: they're going to try to get you to pay it back as fast as possible. All your lodgements have to be on time and paid in full, all your BASs, all your income tax, everything. This is important for you to know because it might not reflect reality, and if it does, then you need to tell the tax office. When someone calls up for a payment plan, generally speaking, the tax office attitude is one of two things. Either you've got the money aside, you've bought a house with it or bought a car with it or some kind of asset with it, but it's somewhere and all you have to do is sell something or access it somehow and you'll be able to pay it back. So the money is there. The second perception is, why should they give you a payment plan when everyone else is paid on time? Why are you special that you deserve all this extra time to pay and a longer time to pay when everyone else worked hard and paid on time? This is their perception, okay? That's not necessarily the case, but this is the perception. You need to know that because you've got to be ready to answer these things, okay? If you're going to successfully navigate and negotiate a payment plan. This is a very important step in the process for you. You know what the tax office wants. You know how they perceive you. They don't know you yet. And now you need to propose something to them, okay? Now, this is what I would suggest you do. You have to be honest with yourself to start off with, because the objective has to be able to get out of this debt and to be able to move on. If you can't achieve that particular objective with the plan, it's going to fail and you need to just be upfront about that situation. So how do we do that? Okay, first, if you're going to be paying off a payment plan, you're going to need to make money. If you're going to make money, you're going to need to pay new taxes. So when you're doing a cash flow for yourself to work out what you can pay, you've got to be thinking, I've got to pay my old tax and I've got to pay the new tax, okay? You've got to take that into account and you've got to think, well, can I pay both sets of taxes? You're essentially paying double tax, and you're coming from a situation where you're probably paying less than the required tax, which is why you're in a payment plan. So you're doing this swing from paying less than what was required to almost double or what's required. That's a big swing cash flow wise for a business, so you've got to be just aware of that. And then you just got to be honest about the situation with the tax person, the tax officer, and tell them, look, this is my situation, this is what I can afford, this is why, okay? Now, if you have a good track record with them, they're probably not going to do anything bad to you, like try to wind up your business. But if you get pressured and you say, I'm going to put in a tight payment plan, and then you don't meet it, and then you have a couple of those, all of a sudden, they get very angry very quickly, and they might close your business down. And they'll be justified in doing that because they'll just say, look, here's a person, have a look on this piece of paper, they default defaulted, they promised this, then they didn't do it, they promised this, then they didn't do it, these guys are no good. But it all comes from maybe trying to please them at the start and do something like that. So you got to be very realistic about the plans. So when you talk to them and you haven't had any problems with the tax office yet, you talk to them and you say, this is what I can afford, this is why, this is the truth. And the things I mentioned in the second point about their perception of you will need to be addressed. So you'll need to think about, okay, what do I say to them about the reason why I'm in this situation? What do I say to them so that they understand if you don't have assets, why you don't have those assets? And just talk it through with them so that they understand, because you don't want to be putting yourself under pressure and setting yourself up to fail. So having said all that, I hope those pointers help and good luck.